So, speaking of lost toys, I have a little video for you from a story about toys. Maybe you've heard of Toy Story. Anybody heard from Toy Story? You did! This is from Toy Story 3. I hear there's 4 of them now, which is just incredible to me. But this is from the 3rd movie. And in the 3rd movie, there's a character whose name is Lotso. And if you remember the 3rd movie, Lotso is kind of like the evil bad guy in Toy Story 3. But there's a backstory, there's some background to Lotso's character, and we hear about it in the movie. So we're going to watch this little clip about Lotso and how he came to be the way that he is, and then we're going to reflect on it. So let's watch. It's about 2 minutes long, this little clip.
Chuckles, he'll tell you. Yeah, I knew Lotso. He was a good toy, a friend. Me and him, we had the same kid, Daisy. I was there when Lotso got unwrapped. Daisy loved us all, but Lotso was special. They did everything together. I've never seen a kid and a toy more in love. One day we took a drive, hit a rest stop, had a little playtime. After lunch, Daisy fell asleep. She never came back. Lotso wouldn't give up. It took forever, but we finally made it back to Daisy's. But by then, it was too late. Something changed that day inside Lotso. Something snapped.
She replaced us. Come on.
No, she replaced you.
She replaced all of us, didn't she? She don't love you no more. Now come on.
We were lost, cast off, unloved, unwanted. Then we found a sunny side. But Lotso wasn't my friend anymore. He wasn't anyone's friend.
So how did Lotso get lost? He was left behind. Boy, there's a phrase we hear often, isn't it? Lotso was left behind. And then he found his way back, right? And his friends. But what had happened? He was replaced. What happened to Lotso's heart when he saw that he'd been replaced? He said again. He became angry and bitter. It changed him, getting lost. Did he ever get found again? No. He stayed lost. And the character who was talking about it, what did he say about Lotso at the end? He's nobody's friend. Toys aren't the only ones who get lost, are they? People get lost too. It's a little more complicated than being left behind, usually, on a roadside trip. There are all different kinds of ways that we can get lost in life. Life becomes overwhelming, just too many things happening and we feel lost. Or life can be the opposite, right? Life is empty. We feel directionless, like there's nothing pulling us forward, and we get lost. Sometimes it has to do with the people that we love. Somebody that we love leaves us behind, whether it's somebody who passes away or a loved one who moves far away. when we get lost without that loved person in our life. Other times, people we love don't care for us like they should, and we can get lost. Or even something completely out of our hands, a traumatic experience, whether it's an illness or an accident, the trauma can cause us to get lost. All different kinds of ways that we can get lost. And when we are lost, we begin to feel a little bit like Lotso, like we're without value, like nobody really cares. Some of the folks who are lost in life have been lost for a long time. Back when they were children, things happened. And sometimes people, like Lotso, they never get found. We're going to watch another video about a young man whose name is Jason Jones. And we're going to learn a little bit about his story. And Jason Jones is one of those people where he got lost when he was a child. And he's going to talk a little bit about how he got lost and then what happened to him. So we're going to watch this video, which again is about 2 minutes long. He's going to tell his story.
When I was young, technology wasn't really around. So I never thought of having a job in tech. That was never a goal. But when I started learning coding, I started seeing the power that existed in the reach that coding has. From that point on, I was hooked. Well, my name is Jason. I do coding. I'm a software engineer. A lot of people always say, like, you don't look like a software engineer. And I love that, right? Because typically I don't right now. How many people know somebody in prison, incarcerated? The majority of people. And how many of you guys know somebody that's a coder? I learned to code in prison. I've been out for about 2 months now. I spent the last 13 and a half years in prison. Where I'm from, you don't see nobody having to take jobs. You don't see nobody go to the 9 to 5 or anything like that. What you do see though is a chaotic environment where people come in and out of prison. I joined the gang at 11 years old. I thought the life that I was living was normal because everybody around me was doing the same thing. The first positive influence I had was the football coach. That's where I poured all my pain, my passion, my anger. I received Division I scholarships. However, I didn't make the grades. I wasn't prepared for the SATs, and when all those opportunities were taken away, I went right back doing the same things and went right back into the same life. In 2006, I was sentenced to 14 years in prison.
How did Jason get lost? Hear a little bit about his background? He fell in with the wrong crowd. Talked about the environment around him when he was younger. It was very chaotic. People in and out of prison. He doesn't mention it in the video, but I read another article about Jason. He was also in a lot of group homes, in and out of foster care, so he didn't really have a steady family presence either. These are all things that contributed to him getting lost. He talks a little bit, though, about how a football coach took him on and cared for him and became a mentor. But then something happens. What happens? He doesn't have the grades to go to college, right? And what happened when he missed that opportunity? He fell back. Absolutely. He started going back to the things that he was doing before. Talk about being in a gang, right? And then eventually, what happened? He ended up having to go to prison. Jason is lost. A lot of people in our world today who are lost are part of vulnerable populations like Jason, who've been exposed to hurt, violence, poverty. They're the people that are often overlooked by our society, who are vulnerable. And so there's not anybody watching out for them when they get lost. Jesus today in our scripture, he eats with who? Who's he eating with? sinners, and who else? Tax collectors. These were the losers in Jesus' time. They were the lost. People who wandered from God. Tax collectors, of course, were known as cheats. They would take more money than they were supposed to. Not popular at all in the society where they lived. And the scribes and Pharisees, of course, they were the ones everybody looked up to, right? The religious people. And so they're wondering, this Jesus guy claims to be the Messiah, the Son of Man. Why would he be hanging out? These dregs, these lowly people. What is Jesus doing? Shouldn't Jesus be hanging out with the religious people? Jesus gives them an explanation in the form of two parables. Very familiar stories to us, right? The first one about a shepherd, 100 sheep, one runs away. And he leaves the 99 behind to go find that one. Upon finding it, he comes back and he's rejoicing, he's partying with his friends. And then another story about a woman. She has 10 silver coins and she loses one in her house. And she goes searching for it, turns everything upside down, and when she finds the coin, she rejoices, and just like in the previous parable, she invites her friends over, her family, and they have a party. Lovely little stories, right? What do they mean, right? Usually a parable that Jesus tells, it has some kind of unexpected turn in it. Something that makes it not make sense. Like, for example, why, when you have 100 sheep, would you leave 99 behind, vulnerable, and go searching after one that has lost? One that could have gotten into a cranny where you can't find it. One that could have been eaten by a wolf. Why would you take that risk? To leave behind the majority of your sheep to find one that might even be dead. Doesn't make sense. Who would not leave the 99 behind? Nobody would leave the 99 behind. Everybody would stay with the 99. And then there's the coin, right? So there's debate about how much this coin is worth in terms of that time period and how much it's worth to the woman. Perhaps the 10 coins are all of her fortune. Maybe it's only part of her fortune. We don't know. But the coin might be around $50 to $100 worth. About a day or a half a day's wages. And the woman, she turns everything upside down. She finds the coin, right? And then she has a party. She's a big party. A party that's probably worth more than the coin that she found. Why would you do that? Go to all that trouble to find that coin and then just spend it on a party. What was the point? The question that the scribes and the Pharisees have, why would you bother trying to find these lost? It's not worth it. They have value. A sheep has value. A coin has value. But is it really worth finding them? In the eyes of society, probably not. Probably not worth it. Think of Jason's story. We're going to see the last part of his video in a second about how he is found, how he's able to restart his life and a new beginning. But that's only made possible because people invested in him. Lots of people invested in him. A program called The Last Mile trained him while he was in prison so that he could code. And he could get a job once he was out of prison in coding. Another program called the Homecoming Project invested in him so that he could have a place to live once he got out of prison. He gets fostered, or not fostered, he gets hosted by a family in their apartment who is given resources, essentially the rent, so that Jason can live with them. A young couple hosts him in their home. And that's how he has housing. All of these resources that are poured into Jason, who many people would write off as beyond hope, lost for good. The question is, will he stay with this lifestyle? Will he really take advantage of this new beginning? Was all that worth it? Let's watch the video and find out.
Problem solving? You guys like logic thinking? One of the first things I did after getting out was start a program at a local high school to share my knowledge about computer science with youth who are not incarcerated. If they don't see coding as an option, they're not going to choose it. And they're coming from the same conditions I came from. And if I can learn it inside of prison where there's no internet access, right? Y'all can too. I'm doing things that I never thought I would do in life. I have real goals now. I'm not defined by my crime or by the fact that I dropped out of college. I'm a software engineer who's proficient in JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, React, Jekyll, and I work at a tech company in San Francisco. It feels good the fact that my son is actually proud of me. It's time for me to help my community and help break this cycle of incarceration. And yeah, it's a lot of work to be done, but I'm hopeful.
In our scripture reading, the first reading, we hear about Paul, right? And he talks about his story. Of course, we know Paul's story, how he was murdering, killing people who were following Jesus. And then he has that experience on the Damascus Road, right? Turns himself around, and he becomes one of the greatest apostles in the church, responsible for starting dozens of congregations, converting hundreds of people. This is the story of when the lost are found. When the lost are found, you have somebody who's gone from the journey from being worthless to knowing they are worthy. From feeling powerless to knowing they have power. In this video, Jason talks about how he's no longer defined by his past, or by what he's done, but he's defined by his passion, his skills, his desire to help his community. He also talks about how he's able now to use his experience to help others, to keep them from going down the same path that he did. He has that power. Each of us knows what it's like to be lost. Each of us deserves to know what it's like to be found. Each of us is found in God's eyes. That sheep that might not have been worth the search, in God's eyes, that sheep is a member of his family, infinitely worth the search. That coin that may have not been worth that much, in God's eyes, that coin has God's own face on it. Each of us, the image of God, reflected. And we are infinitely worthy of finding, of celebrating. And that's the kind of community that we want to be. We want to be a community that sees the world in God's eyes, that sees the lost as valuable. We want to be a community that celebrates with one another and with those who join us, that we found God and that God has found us. We want to be a community that celebrates the love of God and the calling that each of us has. Today we're going to celebrate our calling as a congregation. The calling that we've discerned together to focus on relationships and community. There are folks out there who are lost yet. And you could be part of the process of them finding their way. Let us give thanks to God that we are here, loved by God, found, cherished. And let us ask for God's strength and courage to go out into the world and to help those who have lost their way. Amen.